Welcome to Super Talk Outdoors, where every single Monday at lunchtime we celebrate the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi because this is the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us across the state of Mississippi, people who are in love with the outdoors and love this monthly or Monday celebration every single week of the outdoors in Mississippi. Listen, you're joining us. Some of you are joining us on the powerful Super Talk Mississippi Radio Network. That's for sure. I like to say about the radio network here, it's very unique in America. It is definitely where radio is still king here in Mississippi. But some of you are listening on supertalk.fm. So if you're not in radio contact, you can go on your phone to supertalk.fm and just say, listen now at noon on Mondays, and you can listen to the show. You can listen on Amazon Alexa. You can listen at the SuperTalk Mississippi app or SuperTalk TV at C Spire TV. And some of you watch on Facebook and YouTube. You know, I don't think it matters how you listen, even if you listen on your favorite podcast, as long as you pay attention and enjoy this weekly celebration of the outdoors in Mississippi. Today is March the 10th, 2025. It's an exciting time because we're moving rapidly toward the opening of turkey season. Fishing in coastal Mississippi, as I've been saying, has been really, really good. In spite of the freeze, we've got some areas that may be challenged going forward, but mostly off the coast of Mississippi. The backwaters have been terrific. We're going to talk in the first half of the show about coastal Mississippi fishing. And in the second half of the show, my friend Lake Pickle is going to join us, and we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about the upcoming turkey season. So without any further ado, I want to invite back to Super Talk Outdoors my friend Captain Kyle Johnson from Coastal Waters Outfitters, and a regular on the show, someone I really enjoy checking in with. Kyle, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Listen, we're going to reflect a little bit on the freeze. I've had some conversations with other captains about the impact. Hopefully it won't be as great as we thought it would be. We'll get your perspective on that here in just a second. But before we go any further, I just want to give you an opportunity to tell people about your business, about your unique business. You're also a master photographer on top of that, but give them a sense of your commitment.
Yeah, so I'm Captain Kyle Johnson. I run Coastal Waters Outfitters here, mainly running out of Gulfport nowadays. I started with a slip in Biloxi, but I'm mainly running out of Gulfport Harbor. I like it more, a little more centrally located. I do absolutely every style of fishing you can do here, with the exception of true offshore. I don't really run too many yellowfin tuna or wahoo trips, but everything else in between. We fish inshore, we fish chandelier, we wade fish artificial lures, we fish live bait, we fish cobia, triple tail, snapper. I mean, if it swims here, we chase it. So that's what I like to do, and I work really hard at putting people on fish and having a really good time. And it's funny you just said something about the pictures, because I have a lot of regulars, but I just did an 8-day stretch, and 2 of those days was 2 people that had never been with me. And it's kind of funny, you get reminded how good you're doing when you get done with the trip and you say, all right, pull out your phone, I'm going to airdrop you all the pictures. And they're like, 170 pictures in 6 hours. Like, we didn't even see you doing that. I'm like, yeah, I got pictures, I got videos, I got everything. So I try to show my people a good time, and I want them to have some good memories to look back on, because that's really, in the end, that's really what you're paying for, is the memories, you know.
And no, it is, man. It really is. And you know, whether you're going with a charter boat captain like you, or just enjoying living here like I do and like my family does, the memories, you never get tired of it, man. I mean, they continue to stack up. My son Jordan has recently, he's always been into photography, but as he continues to find success in his life, his toys, and as it relates to photography, have gone kind of out the roof. And what he's able to capture, he's gotten to where now when he goes fishing, he brings the whole shooting match with him. Mm-hmm. You know, very significant telescopic lens, etc. And when you're in, and we do most of our fishing in the backwaters, Biloxi Bay, the rivers, that area. But man, I mean, the number of like bald eagles. He even saw a golden eagle this weekend. Mm-hmm. Which as he went on to learn, they migrate this time of year. But he said, Dad, it was truly remarkable. It was such a large bird. But ospreys doing what they do, and otters, and you name it, man. Just the scenes. As long as you just open your eyes and your heart and your soul to it, you can't help but leave an experience thanking God that you had the opportunity to have access to this. I mean, it's beyond. Sometimes it's beyond your senses, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we've had some really cool things happen that just really make the trip. And one of them, notably, is I got I guess a semi-viral video on my Facebook. I think it's at like 2 million views now. But a 12-year-old client of mine, his name's Fisher Brown, and his dad, Tom Brown, was a fly fishing guide at one point in his life. Super good guy, and the kid's awesome. And I mean, this kid's 12. He gets in the water, he wades, he throws artificial lures, does the whole nine. And we're fishing out at Chandelier, and I mean, massive loggerhead turtle swims. And you can look up the video on Coastal Waters Outfitters. It's on there, I promise. But it swims right up to him. And that turtle's head was as big as the kid's head. And he swims right up to him, and I'm videoing. And I said, Fisher made a new friend on the flats here. And as soon as I said that, it's like we timed it, man. That turtle stuck his head up and just looked at him and took a big breath and then just kind of swam off. He talks about, they come with me at least 4 or 5 times a year. He talks about that trip every day, man. He is never, ever going to forget that. So, and he caught, he sight casted a 30-pound black drum that day. And he doesn't even care. it's all about that turtle that swam up to him, So it was.
What's interesting? You do like I do, Kyle. I've got 3 boats. I can do just about any kind of fishing you can imagine. Essentially a 16-foot, mostly flat bottom that I can go to real shallow water in the backwaters, and then we've got a bay boat, and then we've got an offshore boat. But when we go, usually on the offshore trips, we bring major artillery with us because we don't know what we're going to be able to get away with, and we say we're going to take us wherever the water wants us to go. Now we may have a destination. Let's say our destination is the salt domes at the horseshoe rigs in that area, or maybe it's block 108. But in the process of getting there, we may never even get there because it just whatever we see along the way is going to be amazing. Jordan had a trip like that just 2 weeks ago. He went out to Horn Island. They wanted to kind of assess the situation after the freeze. And it was, by the way, we'll talk more about the freeze here in a second, but he said there were still whole trout that hadn't broken down or been eaten yet. That many had died as a result of the freeze. But this many weeks later, still whole trout there, which amazes me because you would have thought by now that the sun and the conditions would have caused them to rot. But they got on the south side, and it was super, super clear, a north wind, so it was slick as glass. I mean, I say clear, the water was clear, and they were sight casting for redfish and drum. And he said they had so much fun doing that, man. I mean, that is one of the when you can sight cast anything, that's one of the beauties of fishing off the Mississippi coast, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny. I talked to Jordan right before he went, and I told him I'm not taking credit by all means. He's a great angler, but I said, man, one of the things we've been doing going on the south side of them islands, and they're loaded with redfish and drum. And it's funny you bring that up because I'm very fortunate, and I get some great people on my boat that really want to learn more about fishing, not just, which there's nothing wrong with it. I've got clients that are just like, hey, take me to the spot. I want to put fish in the boat, but I got other clients that call and say, I really want to learn, why we're going to this spot, why we're doing that. And I think something that gets instilled in a lot of anglers' minds is spots. I call them spot fishermen. They come up with a plan. They say, I want to go here. I want to catch fish there. Well, nature's not going to let you do what you want to do. You need to do what nature's telling you. And I will tell my people every time, this is what we're going to plan to do, but the plan's most likely going to change. I see something different. I see something that's going to steer me in a different direction. Then that's where I'm going to go, and that's what we're going to do. And one of the things we've been doing lately, the sheephead are starting to spawn offshore, and it's a great time for anglers that from less experience to experience. It's hard to say it in this business, but it's almost a guarantee. You find them, and they're chewing because they're spawning and, they're mating, they're eating and mating. That's all they're doing. So you put something in front of their face, they're going to eat it. But, we'll go out and we'll get those and we'll get some, some of those in the box, and we're releasing a lot of the bigger ones. I feel like those sheephead are getting a lot of pressure the past couple of years. And, I'm trying to kind of do my part, throw those big 7, 8, 9, 10 pounders back. Because if I'm going to chase something, I'm going to go for trophies. And believe it or not, I put some people on some trophy sheephead. A 10-pound sheephead is it's pretty dang big sheephead. But we get done with that, and we'll take people on the south side of those islands and sight cast redfish and drum. And they're amazed. They're like, this water looks like Destin, And I'm like, yeah, we got this right off the coast of Mississippi. You never would have known it.
When we come back with Captain Kyle Johnson, we're going to talk about the freeze and continue this part of the conversation, which is kind of fun. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Listen, are you looking to purchase the perfect piece of hunting property, upgrade your farm equipment, or have you been dreaming of owning your slice of heaven out in the country? Look no further than Mississippi Land Bank for your financing needs. For more than 100 years, farming families and landowners in North Mississippi have turned to Mississippi Land Bank for all kinds of financial solutions, whether it's for land, equipment, or livestock. For more information, visit mslandbank.com or go by and see one of their friendly staff at one of their offices. Mississippi Land Bank, loved to have them as a sponsor of Super Talk Outdoors. Now let's move back over to my friend Captain Kyle Johnson from Coastal Waters Outfitters here in coastal Mississippi. I want to talk about the freeze, but Kyle, before we go there, just to kind of build on what you just said a few minutes ago, the spot fishermen. I like the way you said that. People who come here and say they want to go there and let's go fish there. The way we used to do that. We used to do that a lot. And you know what? We would pass up some amazing stuff on the way. Oh my gosh. I can think back at all the times that we passed up, like on the way to say, the medium level rigs and, come up on a grass bed, or some sargassum grass, or let's say an amazing, tide line, and it would have some dolphin in it. And we would catch a few and maybe a triple tail. And then we would say, well, we got to go. We're burning too much time. And we just go. And then whenever we got to where we were going, the whole time we were there, we were saying, man, I wish we'd have stayed at that grass line. How many times have you done that?
I've done it a few, but I've learned from my mistakes for sure. I'm very fortunate that I am utterly obsessed with fishing, and I get to do it for a living. But I also, fishing is something you're never gonna master. I mean, you're always have to be a student of the game. Things are always changing, and if you're not learning and evolving, you're not getting better. Things are always changing. So nowadays, like I just said, I might have a plan, but I see something that sticks out, I am 100% going to investigate it, because the worst thing is, hey, it might not work out and I'm going back to plan A. But I will say more times than not, those little, going to investigate something, if something doesn't come to fruition that day, it will in the future. I'll remember, hey, I saw bait in that area the other day. And I'll be looking, and there's no bait anywhere where I've been catching fish. There's no bait, and I'm like, I'm gonna go back to that one spot. I saw bait, and I stopped and look, and I go back there, and the fishing's good, So it'll save you. You always got to investigate those little things you come across.
Kyle, I'll give you two more quick examples. One is we were doing that. We're always looking for stuff, especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere offshore. Just finds anything floating. Once we saw something, Jordan's the eagle eye. He sees things, sits on the front of the boat, and that's all he does. There it is. And we went over. It was a bucket, just a bucket, a single bucket floating by itself out in the middle of nowhere. And listen, Kyle, if it didn't have 50 triple tail under, it didn't have any. We threw, and they came out of nowhere. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that before. One other quick example. We were in the 107, 108 area, and we were going to go do a quick deep drop. We had a great day of fishing, beautiful, seas. So we were on our way to do a deep drop. And on the way, we came up, we saw some birds and we saw some grass, and we got to it. And what had happened is the most beautiful little bubble of blue water, cobalt blue water had just pushed in. and we were only in about 200 feet of water.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, my God, look at this, man. It said, we had some live bait. So we put some live bait out. Immediately we caught a really nice dolphin, followed by a really nice wahoo, followed by a probably 200-pound tuna that we fought forever after that. It came past the boat several times. Ultimately, it came unhooked, sadly. But we fought it for a long, long time. You miss stuff like that if you're not paying attention, don't you?
Yeah, you can't get in that mindset of things that only happen this time and in this place, because like I said, things are changing. They are changing rapidly. I mean, look at last year. I know you probably heard guys were catching monster yellowfin tuna in 70 or 80 foot of water just off the coast of Chandelier. And back in the day, you would say, "Oh, I don't believe it." But now everybody's got a phone, and they're showing you videos of 80 foot of water, and then showing the tuna coming in the boat. So you have to keep an open. I used to be, before I was a full time guide. Somebody'd say something like, "Yeah, that guy's lying. That guy's making it up." Now I'm like, it's probably true. There's a
hey, listen,
chance.
Kyle, listen to me, man. True. We were headed to the lumps at the Horseshoe Rigs last year to go tuna fishing. We chunked and we worked and we caught a couple of fish, but no tuna. Then from there we went to a nearby rig. We missed a giant wahoo, and we ended up not putting any tuna or wahoo in the boat. So we come home, and on the way to the lumps, we saw fish crashing everywhere. And I said. And they said, "Why don't we go check that?" I said, "Man, that's just going to be bonita or whatever. That's not going to be tuna at this level of where we're at."
Yeah.
And so we passed through them. One of our friends went to that exact spot the day we were there and murdered the big tuna.
Yep. It's crazy how things are changing. These fish, these migration patterns, everything. It's definitely changing a lot. So gotta stay on your A game. You gotta investigate all those little things. You never know, it might pay off.
So as you see where out of Venice the largest yellowfin tuna out of the Gulf of Mexico was caught this past weekend.
Matt Miranda, he caught a hammer not too long ago too. He's on it, man. And did you see the 690-pound bluefin?
Yes, I did.
It's just nuts, man.
Unbelievable, man. We got it. We got so much access to some amazing water here off the coast of Mississippi. Listen, you and I did chat a little bit about the early reports, and you look into the bays of the barrier islands off Chandelier where there are deep holes and mullet and other fish, but really big south speckled trout got caught up in these areas when the north wind happened and the freeze happened. They couldn't get out. Lots of them freeze, and the early reports and the early videos look terrible. And in some areas it may still be terrible, but for the most part, we could have dodged a bullet. We still don't know yet, but what's your read on it?
So just a little background real quick. We run a brand called the Speckled Truth, and it has gotten huge. We've got a huge podcast. We've had some of the best trout anglers and guides, in the nation on there, and we're friends with them. And, Texas has battled these freezes and they've handled it well. And I've learned a lot about all that, especially since we got involved and we grew in that company. So I have a lot of knowledge on the trout freezes. Right. And, yes, after the freeze, it was bad. It was a bad sight, but the beautiful thing about Chandelier, and it's happening right now, as soon as the bait starts coming from offshore during the spring, the trout, the mullet, the pogies, the glass minnows, everything, that whole island gets replenished with bait, right? And the reason those trout are going into those canals is because that's where the bait's going in the winter. It's people think, oh, the trout are going to the mud because it's warm. The trout are going to the mud because that's where the bait is. The bait might be going there because of that, but that's not why the trout are going there. But I say all that to say, yes, we did lose a lot of big trout, which really sucks. And the big trout fishing, it's too early to tell. But I will say I have been out to Chandelier quite a few times since the freeze. And yes, I've caught trout, and I've caught a lot of trout. And the fishing it wasn't enough. That is such a phenomenal fishery, Ricky, that it's not going to impact it as bad as people think. I don't think so, because like I said, there's going to be a huge influx of bait from offshore, and another stock of trout's going to follow that bait in. Now, as to where those trout come from, I can't answer that, but I know, because I see it every year. I spend a lot of time at Chandelier, and I'm waiting. I'm standing in there. I'm looking at everything. I'm watching everything. I'm very observant. And when all that bait comes, it starts from the south end of Chandelier, 55 miles south. It starts down there, and you just kind of follow those fish north throughout the summer. So there's already a lot of trout way south, and there's a lot of trout in the grass beds to the north. And I'll give old Richard Smith a plug here. I don't know if you know him, but he's a fly fishing guide here, and he has been absolutely railing big bull reds out at Chandelier. I'm not going to say where, that's a big island, but he's out there, and it's great to see. He's taking clients out on a fly fishing trip, and they're catching 5 to 10 bull reds in a trip on the fly. That's insane. That just shows you how good it is. So that island's very resilient. And I think it'll be great. And same with the barrier island, Ship Island, Cat Island. We've been catching trout and reds out there as well. So I don't think it hit us as hard. And I would be the first one to say we need to change regulations. We need to do something. But I would love to see that either way. But what I'm saying is I think we're going to be okay. I really do.
Well, Captain Richard Smith actually joined me from Chandelier for a show, and we'll connect again. Wi-Fi was terrific, and he was able to take us on the tour of his place out there and see his guests, and it was really awesome. I can't wait to have him back, but he's doing a great job with his guide service. Listen, it's been a pleasure, Cal Johnson.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You bet. When we get back on the other side, we're going to visit with Lake Pickle about the turkey season. We'll see you after this.